Okay. Let me know when you're right to go. Thank you all for coming. For those who don't know me, I'm Detective Superintendent Brendan Smith. I'm the Regional Crime Coordinator for the South Eastern region. The purpose of today is to seek public assistance in relation to Operation Tango Timberline. It relates to a male person who was found unconscious and unresponsive on the Redland Bay Beenleigh Road on the early hours of Sunday morning. That was initially reported as a potential traffic accident. Investigations now identified that it's a vicious assault that's occurred on this person. He's currently in a critical condition and his prognosis at this point is unknown. We can say that we believe the incident occurred in Yeowil Street in Fortitude Valley, where two groups of youths have got together and there's been some sort of conflict. They have then pursued each other through the city, down the M1 into Carbrook. So we're seeking public assistance in relation to anyone that may have seen these two groups of youths in Fortitude Valley, Alfred Street, Yeowil, the northern end of Brunswick Street, along the M1 or even down here in Carbrook. This sort of thing cannot be tolerated. We've got a young person now that is fighting for his life in hospital, the consequences to himself, his family, and not only that, the potential offenders. This has far-reaching implications for everyone. Crime will not be tolerated, particularly violent crime. And here we've got, as I say, we've got a young person in the prime of his life, 18, who may not see another birthday. It is that serious, and we really want some support from the community.
Do police believe this is a gang-related attack?
There's two groups of youths. They're of African heritage, so that may assist people identify who they may have seen in the valley on that night. I wouldn't say that it's gang-related, but often groups of youths get together and there's conflict.
Are these particular people known to police already?
Yes, some of them are and some of them aren't. And we haven't clearly identified all those involved. It's up to about 15 people. I think we've got about 7 or 8 in each vehicle. So it should be standing out to the community, even though it's the early hours of the morning. The valley's a pretty vibrant place on a Sunday morning, Saturday night. They would have seen something, so we hope people will come forward.
And so you say that there are about 15 people identified already. Any charges laid, or where is the investigation at?
The investigation's still in its infancy. We've got no persons charged. We're still identifying what role each person played, and some of those people are still unknown, and that's why it's important the community come forward if they know something. We're also seeking dash cam. A lot of people today had dash cam in the car. They would have been driving along the M1. They would have seen these vehicles driving erratically or at high speed, and it would stick out in their memory, and we'd ask them to come forward.
And police believe it started in Fortitude Valley. Do you believe that there was an incident prior to that, or these two groups had altercations previously?
Certainly the two groups and their associates loosely have had assaults and other matters over the preceding months. Whether it's the same people, it's too early to say.
Do we have an idea of the age range of the other people involved in the incident?
16 to 20. So they're all very young, and I mean that's concerning too, that we've got people who don't understand the consequences of their behaviour or have that gangster attitude that think that this is acceptable, and it's clearly not. I think they've only got to think about their own families and their own friends. If it occurred to them, how would they react? This shouldn't be happening in Queensland.
Detective, not the first incident of late involving two groups of youth, particularly of African heritage. Have you been able to draw any link or any connection to any of those incidents we've seen in the past? The Milton Railway Terrace fashion and that young man comes in. Any link to any of those yet?
We're certainly looking at those connections, but at this point there is none. But that's not to say it won't happen, and we've got an open mind and we'll take leads where they take us. We can't go into this with a tunnel vision. As I say, it was initially reported as a traffic accident, and it's clearly not. There was certainly some interaction down in Kruger Road, Carbrook, where the two vehicles have collided, but that's not the cause of any injuries.
I suppose we've seen the vision of one being pursued by the other. Was there any indication that the pursuing car was the aggressor in the situation? Was the other car actively trying to engage them as well?
That's what we believe. We think at this point that the red Commodore was attempting to get away from the silver Camry, and the occupants of the silver Camry are more likely to be the offenders and victims.
I suppose, what can you tell us about the assault on that young man? Is there any
It's still very early. We're still waiting on medical evidence and to come from the hospital, but From what we know, it doesn't appear to be related to a vehicle or a collision. It appears to be clearly from an assault, from the range of injuries on him at this point. As I say, he's critical.
Is there any indication of weapons used?
Not at this point. There were bats and that located at the scene, but whether that's involved, that's still under investigation.
And who called police?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. People called because the traffic accident occurred in Kruger Road, and then the second vehicle was involved in another accident on Redland Bay, Beenleigh Road, and then people were called and they located the youth unconscious and unresponsive, and one thing led to another.
And do you think that these two groups of youths live in opposite ends of Brisbane, or do you know kind of whereabouts they live?
I can say one group is largely based in North Brisbane, the northern end of Brisbane, the other is based in the Ipswich area.
The Ipswich area, do you have any connection to the Southside Villas at all?
It's still early to say. Certainly that's on the line of inquiry we're doing, and I would hate to vilify the wrong people, so that'll come out in the fullness of time.
So do we know what happened, as in what caused it, when they attempted to flee the scene, I suppose, can we just talk us through what happened after the assault took place when police arrived? Did some try and flee? What happened to the others in the car that got the victim assaulted?
Once they arrived, the car block, there's been the vehicles have collided. It would appear that one car's rammed the other. The occupants have got out and fled in separate directions, and the victim has been assaulted during that melee or attempted fleeing, but we're unsure as to exactly what happened. That's why we're calling on anyone that has information to come forward. And that can be anonymous to Crime Stoppers, or they can come forward to the Investigation Centre.
Anything else? Amazing.
Thank you.